Mother's Day is just about a month away, so to honor moms everywhere, we're launching an essay contest called Times Mom Stood Up For Me. Your stories will be judged by a man who has already written a tribute to his mother, the best-selling author of For One More Day, Mitch Albom. And Mitch is with us this morning. Good morning. Great to see you.
Good to see you, too. Yeah.
I want to talk just first about the book to refresh people's memories, because this is a story about a man who is faced with a choice given by his father. Either you're going to be a mama's boy or a papa's boy or a daddy's boy, and he makes what decision?
Well, he decides to be a daddy's boy, and then his dad disappears when he's 11 years old, and his mother raises him the rest of his life, and he never really appreciates her. He's always pining after his missing father. Years later, after she's died, his own life has fallen apart, and one night he decides he doesn't want to live anymore. He drives back to the small little hometown where he grew up, goes into his old house, planning to take his life, and he hears his mother's voice calling him from upstairs as if she never died. And he gets to spend this one last day with her, which is the title For One More Day, even though she's gone, and he finds out all these things about his mother and him and his life that he never knew before.
One of the stories that is so pivotal in your life is a true story of your own mother, how she used to take you to the library when you were a little kid. Tell this story, because it's amazing.
Well, in the book, the character keeps a list of times my mother stood up for me, which is how we've tied into this contest, and times I didn't stand up for my mother. And one of the stories is actually true from my life. My mom used to take me to the library when I was a kid on Saturday mornings, drop me off, pick out a book. One time I picked out this big, heavy book called 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. Tried to take it out, and the librarian said, "You're too young. Go get a kid's book. This is too hard for you." So I get out a Curious George book. I get into the car with my mother, and we're driving away, and she looks at the book. She said, "You've read that 10 times. I said, "Well, the librarian said the book I wanted was too hard." You know, stops the car, marches me into the library, and starts yelling at the librarian, "Did you tell a child that a book was too hard? Never tell a child his book is too hard. Never this child. Where's the book?" Takes the book, shoves it into my arms, and out we go. And I always say that, you know, that was the beginning of my life as a writer, because my mother demonstrated to me, she didn't tell me, she demonstrated to me her love of reading and how important it was for me, and I ingested it, and reading begets writing, and writing, and so I ended up being able to write that story and give it back to her.
Hence the idea for this whole essay contest, which you can go to our website and we'll explain more about that in a second. But what do you want these essays to look like? We're looking for 300 words or less. How my mom stood up for me.
Well, just as there are all these times in the book that Charlie cites moments where his mother defended him, went to school and told the teachers, you know, my son never did that, gave him great advice on his wedding, things like that. People to write a moment where their mother really unsung, motivated only by selflessness that mothers have, stood up for them, and they maybe never even appreciated it until they're getting a chance to write it down. Because I know the feeling that I had when I wrote this book and wrote all these episodes from my childhood and said, you know, I don't think I ever thanked my mother for this particular incident. And I would love people to have that feeling, that catharsis of writing it. And we'll pick one winner, that's great. But to me, the best part is people get to do these things, and maybe they get to then share them with their mother, with their family, and realize, hey, you know, I should have said this sometime earlier.
As all these submissions go in, they'll ultimately be judged by the readers of Gather.com, but the final 10, the top 10 that are chosen, you'll judge.
That's my homework.
That's not going to be easy, I bet.
It won't be easy, but I'll look forward to it. And it's not a writing competition like who's got the best words. It's a thought competition about who can tell a story about that shows the appreciation that we all should have for our moms.
Your writing is so personal. I mean, it reaches people in a very personal way. When you do book signings, when people see you on the street, what do they say to you about how you write?
Well, ever since Tuesdays with Maury, and certainly the 5 people you meet in heaven, people will say that the books stay with them and that they see themselves in my books. I never have kidded myself about, like, I have some kind of enormous gift of writing. I think the stories I tell are about people's lives, and whether it's Tuesdays with Maury and they see themselves as either myself or Maury, or this book For One More Day where they see their own mother in the story, they're able to sort of slot themselves into the simple stories that I tell and say, hey, you know, there's a lot of stuff in my life that I can relate to there as well. That's what they say.
And For One More Day is being made into a movie?
Oprah Winfrey, Harpo Productions. Oprah's the executive producer, and Harpo's making it. We did Tuesdays with Maury together, and that worked out well. So I'm looking forward to this.
That seemed to work out all right.
It did okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, Mitch, always a pleasure to see you.
Oh, thank you, Harry, for having me on.
It's so good of you to be involved in this way.
This will be great, and we'll come back on with the winners.
All right. Thanks so much. Great. The winner of our contest will appear live on The Early Show with his or her mother and win, are you ready for this, a 7-day cruise from Royal Caribbean International, one of our great partners, along with Borders Books and Gather.com. And to find out how to enter, just go to the Early Show website at cbsnews.com and we'll explain the whole thing. Mitch, once again, thanks so much.